Under that landfill is a burial site of an entire industry.
Growing up, you always read little rumors about it.
The dreams of a generation buried underneath the garbage. You can hear it screaming or something, I don't know.
Billions of cartridges out in the desert.
Hey there, history buffs and gamers. Welcome back to Historically Gaming. I'm the Fit Historian, and today we're diving deep into a legend, a cautionary tale, and arguably the most infamous video game of all time, Atari's E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. More than just a bad game, E.T. is a pivotal piece of video game history, a symbol of both the industry's soaring ambitions and its dramatic crash. So grab your coffee and your joysticks because we're about to unravel the full, bizarre, and surprisingly complex story of E.T. for the Atari 2600. To understand the E.T. game, we need to rewind to the early 1980s. Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial was a cultural phenomenon. It captivated hearts worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing film of all time at that point. Atari, riding high on the success of its 2600 console, saw a golden opportunity. Licensing the rights to such a massive hit seemed like a guaranteed home run. Atari, under immense pressure to capitalize on the holiday shopping season of 1982, struck a deal with Universal Pictures for a reported $20 to $25 million, a staggering sum for a video game license at the time. The clock was ticking. They needed a game ready in just a matter of weeks to meet the Christmas rush. Enter Howard Scott Warshaw, a talented and respected programmer at Atari. Warshaw had previously delivered hits like Yar's Revenge and Raiders of the Lost Ark for the 2600. He was tasked with the seemingly impossible, to create a compelling video game adaptation of a complex and emotionally driven movie in a mere 5 weeks. 5 weeks! To put that into perspective, most games back then had development cycles of several months, if not a year or more. Warshaw was under immense pressure from Atari CEO Ray Kasser, who reportedly wanted the game to be in stores by September 1st. This incredibly tight deadline would have a profound impact on the final product. So what did 5 weeks of development yield? Well, E.T. for the Atari 2600 was unique. Players controlled E.T., who was trying to collect pieces of a telephone to phone home, while avoiding a scientist and an FBI agent. The core mechanic involved falling into pits and then awkwardly floating back out. Critics and players alike were bewildered. The gameplay was confusing, the objectives were unclear, and the constant falling into pits became incredibly frustrating. The graphics, well, kind of typical for an Atari 2600, did little to convey the charm and emotion of the movie. Many felt the game was simply unfinished and unpolished. Despite the clear issues during development, Atari, fueled by the anticipated success of the movie tie-in, manufactured an astonishing number of E.T. cartridges, reportedly around 3.5 to 4 million. They expected it to be a system seller, a must-have title for every Atari owner that Christmas.
Atari. Made especially for systems from Atari. The video game that lets you help E.T. get home. Just in time for Christmas. Happy holidays from Atari.
But the reality was far different. The game was a commercial disaster. Consumers, turned off by the poor reviews and their own frustrating experiences, just simply didn't buy it. Retailers were left with mountains of unsold E.T. cartridges. The failure of E.T. was a major blow to Atari, which was already facing increasing competition and internal issues. The massive unsold inventory contributed significantly to the company's financial woes. This period is widely considered a major catalyst for the North American video game crash of 1983. Now, this is where the story truly takes a bizarre turn. As Atari struggled with millions of unsold cartridges, rumors began to circulate. Whispers of a massive secret burial in a landfill started to emerge. The legend claimed that Atari, desperate to get rid of the unwanted games and avoid further losses, had secretly dumped and crushed a huge quantity of ET cartridges in the desert of Alamogordo, New Mexico.
It's a myth in the video game industry that almost 30 years ago, 9 truckloads of Atari video games were dumped in Alamogordo.
Semi-truckload. We're not talking the small van trucks, we're talking semis. It's quite an interesting story on the internet. Like I said, if you get on there, you'll find numerous stories all over the world, from China to Spain to England to the United States, all over the United States, everybody talking about this Atari dump, as they call it out here.
For years, this remained an urban legend, a sensational but unconfirmed tale of corporate failure. Atari officials consistently denied the story, and many dismissed it as an exaggeration. Fast forward to 2014, fueled by a documentary project and the persistent belief in the legend, a team embarked on an archaeological dig in the Alamogordo landfill. What they unearthed sent shockwaves through the gaming world. There they were, thousands upon thousands of Atari game cartridges, including a significant number of E.T., confirming the long-standing urban legend.
Dig for what many call the worst Atari game ever has paid off at a New Mexico landfill. Here is this old landfill in Alamogordo, closed to the public. Newspaper reports from September 1983 claim Atari brought in at least 9 semi-trucks full of merchandise that was crushed and buried under cement somewhere in the 100-acre landfill.
We found something.
After more than 30 years of speculation and hours upon hours of digging, history was made.
E.T. is definitely here.
When I heard the announcement, I was just like, yes. It's very uplifting to finally see someone actually unearth something E.T. related or Atari related from the landfill.
This is history in the making here. This is a story to tell my grandchildren one day.
One of the original E.T. game designers was there to enjoy it all.
I made this game 32 years ago, and it is totally thrilling to me to see that something I worked on that long ago is still having impact. It's still generating entertainment, excitement for people. And today, E.T. has become a groundbreaking game in another way.
His fans agree.
Roswell, now you got E.T. right here.
It was a surreal moment, a tangible piece of video game history literally being pulled from the ground. The discovery sparked renewed interest in the E.T. game and its place in history. These once despised cartridges, symbols of failure, suddenly gained a strange sort of historical significance. Some of the unearthed copies were even acquired by museums, including the Smithsonian National Museum of American History, as artifacts of a pivotal moment in the industry. Interestingly, the creator of E.T., Howard Scott Warshaw, while acknowledging the game's negative reception, has often expressed pride in what he was able to accomplish under such extreme constraints.
That management had called up my boss and said, we need a game in 6 weeks. And George Kish, who was the director at the time, and he laughed. He laughed at them. He says, you know, we can do a game maybe in 5 or 4 months. But you don't do a game in 6 weeks. And they said, well, we've got 6 weeks to do E.T. We need someone to do it. And I don't know who else they talked to, but they called me up and said, can you do it? And I said, yeah, if we reach the right deal, because I knew I could do a game in 6 weeks if I designed a game to be done in 6 weeks. So I did the game, and I set it up so the approval was contingent on Spielberg. It was up to Spielberg to approve the game, because I wanted to get Spielberg up to visit more times. And that was always fun. And I did the game, and I just worked like all the time. You know, I lived in my office, or sometimes I had a system at my home. I had them put a system in my home so I could work there too. And just all the time for like 6 weeks, I worked on the game, and then the game went out, and it was an okay game. You know, it was not the greatest game, but it was a pretty good game, I think, for working on it for 6 weeks. And then it got out, and people were very disappointed with the game. People were very unhappy with the game. Although I will say that it was still a $1 million seller, but they printed 4 million. And it only sold 1 million, and so they really took a bath.
He maintains that given the impossible deadline, he did the best he could. Warshaw's perspective offers a valuable insight into the human side of this story. It wasn't necessarily a case of malicious intent, but rather a confluence of unrealistic expectations, a tight deadline, and the pressure to capitalize on a major movie release. Today, Atari's E.T. remains a fascinating case study. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of rushed development, the importance of quality control, and the potential pitfalls of over-relying on licensing deals. It's a story of boom and bust, of ambition and failure, and ultimately of a forgotten game that unexpectedly became a piece of pop culture history. The irony isn't lost on anyone that these games, once deemed worthless enough to be buried in a landfill, now fetch surprising prices among collectors. Their notoriety and the incredible story behind them have transformed them into unique and sought-after items. So, the next time you hear someone mention the worst video game ever, remember the story of E.T. It's more than just a punchline. It's a complex tale of a cultural phenomenon colliding with the nascent video game industry, resulting in a legendary failure that continues to fascinate and intrigue us decades later. What are your thoughts on the E.T. game? Did you ever play it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more explorations into the fascinating world of video game history. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!